All right. So, Dr. Sabet holds a doctorate from the State University of New York at Buffalo. He has worked as a university professor, academic dean, and education consultant throughout his career. For over 3 decades, his research and writings have focused on intersection of religion, science, and culture. I personally have the privilege of knowing Dr. Sabet from one of the many classes he conducts, and he truly embodies the meaning of serving humanity. He does so in every aspect of his life, from service to his family to conducting many classes, giving talks at various venues and conferences, and selflessly doing so with the utmost posture of humility. He is a true inspiration to anybody who knows him. As a university professor and modern thinker with deep knowledge of traditional and modern philosophy, focusing on meaning, value, and spiritual and true nature of human beings, we are in for a treat tonight. So tonight's topic, as you know, is truly a very relevant one to our lives, spiritual identity and moral responsibility in the era of artificial intelligence. So without further ado, I turn it over to dear Dr. Sabet. Please.
Thank you so much, Vida Khanum, for really generous introduction. I'm honored to be invited to participate in this gathering. And again, I also welcome all the participants from every corner of the world. As you just said, the point of our discussion tonight is about artificial intelligence and moral responsibility and spiritual identity of human life or humanity. But first, I would like to mention something that I'm not a computer or artificial intelligence expert. I'm just approaching this topic from a philosophical and ethical perspective, informed by Baha'i teachings. And I hope this can lead to insightful discussion and dialogue and discourse, hopefully. As you know, this is a very broad topic. It's an emerging topic. On a daily basis, it is changing and evolving. And it is truly an interdisciplinary topic again, because I'm going to refer to that a bit later. And also it's a very challenging topic. It challenges humanity, our civilization, our way of thinking from different sides and from different perspectives. So with that background, I would like to use a PowerPoint, and then my point is really to go through this PowerPoint and then really focus on your questions and thoughts, because that's really where the true discussion can happen.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Not yet.
You're sharing.
Not sharing screen.
That's it. Thank you very much. So if you go to the next slide to the introduction. Here, as you see, I'm trying to approach this era of artificial intelligence, and considering the fact that it raises very important questions about spiritual identity and moral responsibility.
Cash I have in the bank, you have in the bank.
While artificial intelligence has the potential to revolutionize various aspects of our lives, including healthcare, transportation, and communication, it also brings about ethical dilemmas and challenges our understanding of spirituality and morality. I remember many years ago, for the first time when I read something, an article about artificial intelligence, and the point of the article was that it would challenge the concept of spirit or human soul in a sense. And it was saying that artificial intelligence, if it grows because it mimics human consciousness, then the question is human spirit or human soul a non-material entity or something, or it is something that can be produced as a result of some combination of technological progress. So of course, I'm very interested in these topics, and since then I've been thinking, and this has been one of my areas that I've been thinking about. And so now that with the emergence of this artificial intelligence, and now it's becoming almost an aspect of daily life, and people are using it for every purpose. So I decided and suggested to discuss this topic and basically focus on two ideas. One is the concept of a spiritual identity, because, as I said, it is said that artificial intelligence challenges traditional notions of spirituality by creating intelligent systems that can mimic human behavior, understand emotions, and even engage in philosophical, theological, or ethical discussions. The other issue is the issue of moral responsibility. As artificial intelligence becomes increasingly autonomous and capable of making decisions, the question of moral responsibility arises naturally. In these circumstances, the idea is, of course, one of the ideas that are being discussed by in different countries by politicians, legislators. It's the issue of regulations, how we can regulate this. And some have even suggested that the research in this field should be delayed. In other words, the development of this field should be delayed, postponed, until proper circumstances will arise and we are able to control the artificial intelligence. And they have warned that the rigid growth of this technology can basically be disastrous, and even some people have suggested it has the potential to destroy human race. So these are the areas. Now, just to back up what I said here about the potential destructive force of artificial intelligence, in May of this year, one of the leaders of artificial intelligence, or is sometimes called the godfather of artificial intelligence, resigned from his job at Google. Perhaps you had heard about that. And he warned that chatbots will soon become more intelligent than humans. And shortly thereafter, in the same month, the Center for Artificial Intelligence or Artificial Intelligence Security in the United States released a statement supported by hundreds of top-making technology experts. And in this statement, they expressed that artificial intelligence can be used to generate fake information, thereby putting societies at risk and in turmoil. In their worst-case scenario, machine could become intelligent or intelligent enough to take control of our affairs, potentially leading to the extinction of humanity. So here, as you can see, we are not talking about science fiction. We are talking about real scientists talking about real science. Now, what we are going to discuss here is a few items. First of all, one thing that I would like to mention that none of these factors that I just mentioned can reverse the evolution of artificial intelligence. In the same way that, just think about it, just electricity. Once electricity discovered, it could not be returned to oblivion. It cannot be eliminated. It's going to be, it was all there, out there, and we had to find ways how to manage it. So that is basically what is the state of technology. When something, a technological or scientific idea is discovered, it cannot be returned to its original place. It becomes a part of humanity, it becomes a part of our life, and therefore it cannot, we have to find ways to deal with that issue. So forget about the idea of stopping the evolution of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an extension of the internet. The same way that we used internet and we have basically established, created a very interdependent world in terms of global communication. The same way artificial intelligence will continue to grow. That's number one. The other thing is, because as I said, our discussion is informed by Baha'i teachings and of course my understanding of Baha'i teachings. And in my understanding, the Baha'i faith supports the use of science and technology, viewing them as integral to material civilization, to material progress. Abdul Baha repeatedly, when he was traveling in the West, praised the West, the Western culture, the Western civilization for its material advancement, but stressed the importance of balancing them with the spiritual values. Similarly, Baha'u'llah recognized and praised the scientific and material achievements of the West as long as they did not exceed reasonable limits or bounds of balance and equilibrium. So that is very important from a Baha'i, important reminder that the Baha'i faith is a religion for the advancement of both material and material and spiritual progress. And the goal of the Baha'i faith is to establish a civilization that is simultaneously advanced in material as well as spiritual domains of reality and existence. So that is one very, very important idea, because it's not like some philosophical perspectives that condemn machine, condemn scientific progress or technological developments. Yes, the scientific and technological developments have also had negative sides or side effects, but this is basically the rhythm of development, that when we create something, then we have to deal with the side effects and then overcome that in order to achieve higher degree of progress. This is how things change. This is how things progress. So that is one important item that I wanted to mention. Okay, can we go to the next part? Thank you. All right, so we discussed that, and so therefore we can go to the next one. All right. Here is, again, it's a very rather simple idea. I mean, perhaps all of you are aware of this, but I wanted to mention that artificial intelligence is a significant part of human beings making tools or tool making. The evolution of man's tool making refers to the gradual development of tools and technology by human beings over thousands of years. So the history of tool making is a fascinating aspect of human development. And as I said, spanning back millions of years. Tools have played a crucial role in shaping the progress of our species, human beings. And this began in the time of early human ancestors, leading to the basically industrial revolution and beyond. The Industrial Revolution, starting in the late 18th century, introduced production and mass manufacturing of tools and other goods. Steam power, for instance, followed by electricity and automation, and led to advancement in tool making and industrial processes. Today, with the advent of computerized manufacturing and robotics, tool production continues to evolve rapidly. So the history of tool making reflects our innate human capacity for innovation and problem solving. It demonstrates how tools have been instrumental in shaping our societies, enabling us to adapt, survive, and progress through the history, throughout the ages. So this background, I just wanted to support this perspective with a nicely portrayed, with a reference to a very interesting movie that came into 1960s. It was called 2001 Space Odyssey. And it was directed by really a master movie maker, Stanley Kubrick. And the interesting thing about this movie is that it's still, after 30, 40, I mean, maybe, yes, 50, more than 50 years, still it has something to say, something to tell us about the interaction of humanity and technology. And in this movie, I don't want to go into the details, but it has a very fascinating story, very philosophical. Even some people think about it as a movie with some religious overtone. But anyway, the artificial intelligence plays a very critical role in this movie, to the point that artificial intelligence is leading this spaceship, and at one point it turns against the occupants of the spaceship and started to kill them or eliminate them. And in this scene that you see, these two came into a very secure room to say things, to exchange ideas about how to deal with this problem. And the artificial intelligence in front of them can read their lips and understand that they are plotting against it. So anyway, it's a very interesting story. But the film originally begins by showcasing a primitive tribes of of primitive people or apes, perhaps, that are struggling for survival. One of them discovers a bone that later proves to be a good tool for hunting and food gathering. So after successfully using it, their leaders tosses this bone into the air, and the bone then transforms into this spaceship that is going into the deepest space, venturing into the deepest space in search of a purpose and perhaps meaning of life. So I just wanted to explain this process, which is really nicely introduced, and I suggest that you watch this movie, that how the tool making from creation, finding a bone for killing and hunting and so on, this is the continuation of the same process of evolution of technology and human progress. So in the past, we have developed, invented tools such as telescope and microscope. And the point was, all of these helped us to enhance our vision, or levers to strengthen our physical strength. And basically other tools that we have created to augment human capabilities. So, and now at this critical juncture of scientific and technological development, artificial intelligence represents a different kind of tool making that relies on developing intelligent systems capable of augmenting human intelligence and cognition. So that is basically the idea, and therefore artificial intelligence is another tool that we have created in order to advance our progress. Next one, please. Okay. As you see, this first statement is a famous statement by Shoghi Effendi that I wanted to mention that. And Shoghi Effendi says in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, page 203, he says a mechanism of world intercommunication will be devised, embracing the whole planet, freed from national hindrances and restrictions, and functioning with marvelous swiftness and perfect regularity. This is nothing but the internet. And this is the genius foresight of Shoghi Effendi, basically forecasting the future world order, not only in a spiritual and social aspects, but also in technological and scientific aspects. The Baha'i faith, as I mentioned, strongly emphasizes the importance of scientific and technological progress as a means to advance civilizations. We believe that religion and science are complementary aspects of human understanding and should not be in conflict. The Baha'i teachings anticipate, this is also very important, that I would like to connect the future vision of the Baha'i faith with the development of scientific progress, including artificial intelligence. The Baha'i teachings anticipate a future age in which scientific and technological advancement will play a significant role in the progress of humanity. Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, stated that religion must be in harmony with science and reason. He encouraged the pursuit of knowledge and the application of scientific principles for the betterment of society. You see that application of scientific principles basically means technology. So Baha'is believe that as humanity continues to advance scientifically, it will also undergo a fundamental transformation in its understanding of reality. This new paradigm of understanding will incorporate spiritual principles and recognize the interconnectedness of all aspects of life. It is believed that this integration of scientific and spiritual knowledge will lead to the resolution of many of the global challenges and problems that we currently confronting. All right, let's go to the next one, please. Okay. Here is another important piece of Baha'i perspective about this issue. It is my understanding that while it is necessary to have for better functioning and regularity of artificial intelligence, to have rules and regulations, and in order to protect people from the negative aspects or impacts of artificial intelligence. It is important. Already leaders of thought, scientific experts, politicians, people, leaders of organizations and corporations, they are all discussing this issue. But I would like to mention something. It is also significantly important and essential that we realize that we human beings have created artificial systems. And those systems, this artificial intelligence, reflect the values and biases of our culture. So when you hear complain about the negative, evil side of artificial intelligence, in fact, it is something that we have fed into the system. Because you see, the same way as the best way to understand this is look at the internet. It has information about the best of humanity, and you can also find content based on the worst aspect of human life or human thoughts or human behaviors. So therefore, artificial intelligence should be considered a representation of our collective culture and a tool that extends human abilities and intelligence. So it is an extension of our culture, collective culture. So to ensure the safe use of technology, this is perhaps one of the significant part of my presentation, is that to ensure the safe use of technology in our interconnected world, we need a change of our mentality, human beings, at the collective level. We need change of human mentality, values and behaviors towards others and the world. It requires a fundamental transformation of our current system of thoughts, system of patterns of thoughts and behaviors. So this, to me, this is really the ultimate solution and the final solution for the challenges of artificial intelligence. Otherwise, our approaches will be piecemeal, transient, interim procedures, and so on. So therefore, we don't, in other words, artificial intelligence is not an enemy. It is an enemy within. If we consider it as enemy. Okay, next one, please. Okay. All right, now For the remaining part of this, I would focus on artificial intelligence and human spirit, and then artificial intelligence and moral responsibility. The spiritual or transcendental truth of human nature in the Baha'i faith is presented as a living, creative, and transformative reality. I basically developed this part of my presentation in response to the idea that artificial intelligence can replace human spirit. The human spirit is an all-encompassing power that exerts its dominion over the inner essence of all created things, uncovering the well-kept mysteries of the phenomenal world. However, artificial intelligence lacks subjective consciousness and genuine spiritual experiences that are deeply rooted in human soul. While I can, assist in exploring philosophical questions and providing insights, basically, we cannot really expect that artificial intelligence could possess any kind of true spiritual identity. It is important to note that physical matter alone cannot produce a whole system or subjective experiences. Our self-awareness, introspection, sense of empathy, the quest for meaning, these are just a few aspects of our deeply intertwined parts of our human consciousness or human soul. Our experiences of transcendence, kamal, perfection, distancing ourselves from material reality and seeking something higher. So all these are about the concept of transcendence. So whether it be awe-inspiring beauty or mathematical truth are also qualitatively different from the material world. Anyone with a decent understanding of physics, computer science, and the human mind should understand this, especially if we are concerned about potential artificial intelligence possibilities. So the way that I understand it, artificial intelligence is an indicator of yet another triumph of the human spirit. It is not going to replace human spirit. It is a sign that human spirit, as Abdul Baha says, has the power to control and use the nature for its progress. So this is the same thing. It is the same process of conquering the material world for the service, for the higher service of a spiritual, of creating a civilization that is both spiritual and material. So artificial intelligence, to me, in the long term, is expected to enhance human experience rather than to diminish it. So as humans, we know we cannot reduce human identity to robots. We are spiritual beings with a purpose. Our spirit or our soul constantly acts shaping the material world with immaterial or transcendental or spiritual ideas. And the important point is, at this age of disbelief, when the light of religion and a spirit, true religion and a spirit is extinguished and materialism dominates our values, we must recognize that our failure to understand our true nature is the greatest threat we face. So to me, artificial intelligence is not the greatest threat to humanity. The greatest threat is that we don't recognize its purpose, its use, and interpret it as basically our failure to understand our true nature. If it results in this, this is the tragedy. We should hope that in our pursuit of artificial intelligence, we may rediscover the importance of the human soul and gain a deeper understanding of where it comes from. So that is a very, very brief review of all the debate and discourse about the relationship between the artificial intelligence, human consciousness, and human spirit. Next one, please. Okay. So artificial intelligence is an indicator of yet another triumph of human spirit, all right? And okay, I believe we reviewed this part. How about we go to the next one? Okay. So here we are discussing ethical guidelines and the governance of artificial intelligence. So the development and deployment of artificial intelligence should be guided by comprehensive ethical guidelines and governance frameworks, because we need both ethical guidelines and mechanism of governance. These frameworks should address issues like privacy, consent, accountability, and the impact of artificial intelligence on emotional and spiritual well-being of people. So collaboration between policymakers, technologists, ethicists, and spiritual leaders is necessary to establish ethical standards that align artificial intelligence advancement with human values. As we embrace artificial intelligence, it is crucial to address ethical concerns, establish moral responsibility, and ensure that artificial intelligence development aligns with our values, preserving our spiritual identity in an increasingly technologically driven world. So, one of the interesting or important contribution of Baha'i thinking to this discussion is that we have a new definition, a modern or a more advanced, elevated definition of spirituality. You see, in the past, spirituality is often thought of as something magical, something otherworldly, something intertwined with miracles. However, the Baha'i perspective emphasizes its practical expressions in terms of morality, practical application, practical expressions, in terms of morality, in terms of social responsibility, and service to humanity. This is the true meaning of spirituality from a Baha'i perspective. So the Baha'i teachings aim to establish a universal ethical framework and a global governance mechanism to ensure these values are enacted worldwide. So we have this spiritual perspective. We are trying to advance a universal ethical framework, and of course create a global, these are ideals, of course, a global governance mechanism for enactment of these principles. So therefore, as I mentioned previously, it is not enough to rely on rules and regulations alone. The interconnected world we live in requires that, every phenomenon, whether it is positive or negative, can have international consequences beyond the domestic borders. And artificial intelligence is just one example of this. Therefore, it is essential to prioritize international cooperation and the development of crisis management agencies that share a sense of responsibility to the global community. I read something today from the former head of the Artificial Intelligence Office in Britain. She referred to the fact that this technology has no, these are her words, has no respect for borders, and tells the BBC that we need international cooperation in this field. I know it will be difficult. This is not an internal matter. These technologies do not confine themselves to the boundaries of just one country. So this is really exactly what the Baha'i teaching had been emphasizing for the past more than 170 years. Also, in my research, very limited research, I've been informed that some scientists, some experts in artificial intelligence are doing something very interesting, very mind-boggling, in fact. That and that is, moral codes can be written into the algorithms of artificial intelligence. They are called ethical AI or moral AI. So the goal is to ensure that artificial intelligence systems adhere to certain ethical principles and guidelines while making decisions or taking actions. This is fascinating if it is possible. So developers and researchers can incorporate ethical consideration into AI algorithm through a process called value alignment, quote unquote, value alignment or value loading. This involves explicitly defining and programming ethical values, principles, or constraints that guide the artificial intelligence behavior. So as the final note, I would like to say, defining and implementing a universal set of codes in artificial intelligence is definitely a challenging task. Ethics and morality are complex and subjective concepts that vary across cultures, societies, and individuals. However, to address these challenges, we need interdisciplinary collaboration between computer scientists, philosophers, religious people, and basically all other stakeholders to consult, to establish constructive discourse in order to reach a better goal. And so they have to aim to develop a framework and guideline that promotes responsibility and ethical artificial intelligence. Here, I just wanted to briefly mention that this is not something new. Even for the past 40, 60 years, significant efforts are made to design truly universal systems that transcend cultural relativism. For example, the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as as a moral code, or the actions of the theologians, Swiss theologians Hans Kuhn, who famously wrote this: "No peace among the nations without peace among the religions. No peace among the religions without dialogue between the religions. No dialogue between the religions without global ethical standards. No survival of our globe without a global ethic." So Baha'i teachings also provide us with a broad and relevant moral framework that is squarely rooted in the religious traditions of the East and the West, and responsive to the exigencies of the modern world. Here, I also tried the next slide is to come up with some very, very limited, of course, some teachings of the faith that may have a potential implication as a moral code for the management of technology, and in this case, artificial intelligence. Last slide, please. Yes, thank you very much. So these are, again, we have limited time. I just read them, and then if you have any question, we can discuss them in further detail. These are these principles that I assume or surmise that may have implications for this ethical code are: essential oneness of humankind, that all major religions of the world share the same universal spiritual principles, that culture of peace and culture of peace and the negation of contention and conflict, non-violent and constructive resilience response to evil acts, the evolution of moral agency from a mentality, we believe this, I mean, I try to summarize it in this statement, that the evolution of moral agency is from the mentality of tribal self-interest to universal altruism. This is like how basically describes the course of history in terms of moral development, or the challenges of moral development. Social reality is shaped by non-zero-sum principles. That means increased complexity that we have witnessed in human history has created a broader framework for cooperation, not conflict, not contention, not violence. Artificial intelligence must remain above and beyond the corrupting influence of power, control, and money. So I don't know how that can be written into artificial intelligence algorithm, but I'm sure they can find ways to do that. And finally, moral core values are squarely rooted in humanity's spiritual and moral traditions. So in that sense, they are eternal and universal and belong to humanity's heritage. They need to be redefined to suit the requirements of a universal civilization without cutting them off from their spiritual roots. So here is very brief discussion of some of the moral principles that, not necessarily moral, some of these are spiritual, social principles, but overall put together, I think they convey a coherent moral message. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to your comments and questions.
Thank you, dear Dr. Sabet. That was truly enlightening and a lot of food for thought. a lot of amazing points that I'm sure everybody who is on this call has been able to take advantage of. It is so there you have it, friends. It is a relief that artificial intelligence cannot replace human spirit and soul, and that it is truly an indicator of another triumph of human spirit. So thank you for that. It's heartwarming. I have a few hands up, and so I will go in the order that the hands have gone up. If I can ask Roya to please unmute your microphone and go ahead, please.
الله پا جان، الله پا دوستان عزیز، جناب ثابت، دکتر
Allah
ثابت،
Akbar.
خوشحالم از اینکه خدمت شما هستم و خیلی موضوع مهمیه که
Roya, my dear, could I ask you to address that in English?
Oh, sure, yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank
Allah pa, dear friends, and Dr. Sabet, Vidajan, I have a question in regards to the same topic, but as I understood, basically, we have to catch up with the speed of the science. I mean, Baha'is have to do the job in regards to increasing the morality, and we are behind already. Now, this is basically the disaster depends on the speed of the coming together for peace and organizing the new law and regulations around the world for controlling new technology, comparing or in competition with the groups that they may not be interested in joining the rest of the world. As you can see, there are lots of conflicts and many fundamentalists that they do their own way of thinking and doing things. And it is enough to just have enough money to organize their own army of artificial intelligence looking like human being and taking over the world. So how do we solve that problem? It is basically who gets there faster.
Thank you very much. Very important question, but sorry for, I try to answer very briefly, but it really, your question requires much more attention. My understanding is that, as you just said, we cannot control the world. We are not in the business of controlling the world. We are in the business of helping the world. We are in the business of informing the world, and that's all. So as part of our spiritual and moral responsibility, we continue doing that and leave the rest to the hands of God. And also another positive note is that when we look back at history, we can clearly see that even during the most tragic moments of life, when very bad things happened, still humanity was able to overcome those situations and advance more in terms of overcoming those situations and creating a better social or moral environment. So it is a struggle, definitely. It is so, I'm not expecting that these ideas immediately can be implemented, but again, our task is just to say it and inform people and leave the rest in the hands of God, as I said. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Hissam, please go ahead.
الله حرفها جناب دکتر ثابت
Allah.
به اندازه ممنون از این wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Also thanks to خانم مسرور و our dear friend here who is managing the meeting. And there are two questions I have. First of all, if anybody can regulate ethics, can common human beings, whether legislation or scientists, anybody. But I think Baha'u'llah and the Bab, they regulated the ethics and morality. They revealed over 15 million verses of writing. The last interpretation by Abdul and Shura Fandi. Don't you think that because they saw the future, so they revealed so much writing to keep a human straight forward to enjoy their life in this what we call a jungle of science and technology. And question number 2, do you see the end? Can you visualize where we are going to get? The Bab reviewed 25 resting levels of science to human beings. How far the Bab and Baha'u'llah are going to expand the knowledge and technology for human beings on this planet? How far we can go? Human is going to go. This is
Yes.
the question.
Thank you so much. And they are very profound questions. And honestly, I'm not able to really predict that far. Even Shoghi Effendi in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, he says that he mentions something like this, that as far as we can see this, then he portrays the amazing future of humanity. So therefore, our knowledge, our experience at this point is not capable of truly forecasting or even imagining what would be the situation in the future. We have just a general perspective, a general picture that there will be in the Baha'i system a civilization, a global civilization, a worldwide civilization, and this civilization is advanced in both sciences and spiritual and moral progress. This is the ultimate goal that we are trying to reach, and hopefully through efforts, through consultation, and sometimes, to be honest with you, it's the pain and suffering that are caused by tragic, tumultuous events. People have learned new lessons. It's a sad state of affair, but basically it is true. Sometimes humanity needs to undergo a process of catharsis in order to learn a new way of living. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I have next Mr. 123. I'm not sure. Could you just introduce yourself and go ahead,
Sure.
please?
Thank you. صدای منو دارید شما? Do you have my voice?
Yes.
بهروز جان, this is دلاور. قربانت برم عزیز. انشالله موفق.
بله، ارادت دارم.
قربانت برم عزیز. My question is, when you mentioned that if AI is going to be successful around the world, it needs to have the cooperation of the government, NGOs, organizations, scientific community, and the whole wide world. However, I want to ask you a question, a hypothetical, which could be also a very practical situation in the future. Let's say that 70% of the world are in agreement to cooperate, but 30% of the countries, let's say, and I give you just for example, China and Russia, they do not want to cooperate, and they do not want to collaborate on creation of mechanisms to make it really AI to be a positive contribution for humanity. What tools are available without a world government that we can approach those 30% of the world that they are hackers and they are destroyers and they do not want to really cooperate with the rest of peace-loving population in the world. What is the option for the wild world if we do not have, and while we do not have a world government? Behrooz Jan.
Thank you so much. First of all, I believe, even though we don't have a world government at this point, but we can clearly see the shadow of some sort of international order present in different international activities. Now, this, I have to be very careful about this because it could be misunderstood. I'm not trying to say that there is an international order. For instance, some people may think that, okay, we are talking about the American so-called hegemony that is around the world. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the existence or the need for some sort of international order inherent in the DNA of the existing world. I want to emphasize that. We can approach this from a spiritual perspective, that when Baha'u'llah came to this world, basically he brought a new ideas, and these new ideas are making changes in the world, and they are alive and they are making changes as we speak. But on the other hand, from a historical, sociological, political science perspective, the need for international order is inherent within the system and inherent within the collapsing institutions. In other words, the institutions that are collapsing at this, they may resist the pressure, the move towards international system, but in the process they would collapse, or they would change their nature and come up with a new name or a new concept and so on. For instance, you mentioned this. Let me tell you this, that right now, because you mentioned China and Russia, now they are also talking about the new world order led by a new group of countries: China, Russia, India, BRICS group, independent countries that are challenging the power and authority of American dollar and so on and so forth. It's a long story, but the funny thing is they call it a new international order. So to me, the way that they break from one system and come into conflict with another system, with a system, but then they go and make or arrange a new global in nature kind of collaboration with some like-minded countries, shows that the idea is transferring and transmitting from one place to another, but the fact is it is alive, it is working, and ultimately these trials and errors, these two processes of integration and disintegration, ultimately will lead to a higher synthesis. Another good example is the case of the European Union. Who was expecting the European Union in a continent that was the place of the worst war in human history, more war and conflict in human history, become like United Nations of Europe? So my understanding is that it is very complicated. It's very perplexing and confusing. But the fact that when you put all these issues aside, you can clearly see a pattern. You can clearly see a pattern if you look at the world scene from different ideological perspective, but they share one thing. there is a rendezvous between destiny and progress and catastrophe. I'm sorry, and therefore, two processes of system transformation, system destruction are working hand in hand.
Merci,
This-
Behrooz. But we must be ready for that catastrophe that you mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Quanta Dawn Light hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Dr. Sabet, I think you used to live in South Carolina. I attended your lectures at Marduk Badian's house some time ago.
Thank you.
And it's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
I'm thinking that we human beings tend to think life within our own frame of time, like we're living in here. I'm 77. And so I think that the evolution has to happen in my own lifetime. I have to see what's going on in 100 years from now on. So I think, so therefore, because of the unknown that is to us unknown, that we tend to be worried. But I think that AI or any technology that has come and people were hesitant and didn't know how it's going to affect humanity. So I'm thinking that like during this pandemic, I really, I mean, I have seen this amazing result that is positive. Literally every single day, I meet hundreds of people and I share the message of Baha'u'llah in quotes by giving them references or by putting links, attending conferences with as many as 1,000 people, 670 people. I will have another one next week. So I was able to reach, because of internet, because of what Shaki Efendi has said, and use it for that purpose. And there are millions of people that are using the internet for a good purpose. And they are coming together. I'm involved in a couple of dozen peace organizations. And I'm able to do that because I open my computer and I'm in China and I'm in Asia or South America, everywhere in the world. And I'm able to share the message of Baha'u'llah in English with all these people. And sometimes they write to them, they say, oh, I love that quote that you shared. So we have to try to look at it from a positive way. And if there is a negative effect, that will actually unite the people of the world to deal with that negative effect together. And they will try to find a solution. So I am hopeful about the evolution of AI for human progress.
Thank you. Thank you. Fully agree.
Thank you. Next, we have Giti Etemad's hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, please. Dr. Sabet, did I understand you right that as the AI advances, is it a possibility that human understanding and spirituality will advance as well?
My understanding is yes. I mean, it doesn't mean that we are negating or we are not seeing the potential negative aspects or impact of artificial intelligence. But overall, in this, when you consider the whole process, I believe it will help us more than harm us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Ziai, please go ahead.
Dr. Sabet, what are the most negative aspects of AI that we are so afraid that will happen? Just a few examples.
Just I mentioned one. I just mentioned one is that the potential to create fake information, fake identity, fake personality, basically changing the entire or reversing or collapsing the entire trust of the community or the global community, that nobody would trust anybody. Okay, so that to me is one of the really dangerous aspects of this process, that certain individuals, organizations, or as Mr. Kachnas mentioned, governments try to use this in order to sow mistrust, misinformation, and create conflict and tension between peoples, groups, individuals, and countries.
The same as internet, like almost the same.
Yes, yes, exactly, because artificial intelligence is an extension of internet, is an evolved internet. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shahla Khanum, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I see a lot of positivity in this because I feel that actually the writings tells us about science and religion going hand in hand. It's like the two wings of a bird. There has to be a balance. And I get this feeling that this is the age of masses, and humanity is not anymore dictator leaders can lead us. We have come to realization that we are controlling the morality of it to a great extent. We see that even happening in Iran with the women's issue. So I get this feeling that with the writings that tells us about the balance of science and religion, with the fact that this is the day of the masses, that the meek shall inherit the earth, I get the feeling that it will be positive. When it does turn towards negative, humanity will put a stop to it, as it's in Iran. So I see it as a very valuable field, and I can see it going to places. Recently, I received this little video where they have this artificial intelligence, very beautiful girl, and she responds to many of the questions. And the questioner says, "You have everything that all humanity has together." She says, "Yes, but I do not have a soul." And I thought that was heartbreaking in a sense that we have created something that yearns for a soul. So there's no sense of the soul. I'm wondering what you think of that.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And I think I mentioned something somehow related to what you are saying, that instead of fearing artificial intelligence, we have to fear losing ourselves and losing our soul in this materialistic environment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Farida Khanum, please go ahead.
Allah Hafa, Dr. Sabet, for short. I don't know, you remember me? I'm Faride Peymani,
Yes,
wife of,
thank you.
and he's in next world, of course.
Yes, God bless him.
In Switzerland, we met you that was beautiful meeting, and then in Florida with your brother. Anyway, my question, I don't know, related to your subject. First of all, I enjoyed very much your talk, really.
Thank you.
Invited. You know that Baha'u'llah said the air going to be poisoned, and said to, I can say the near future. Our beloved House of Justice said the near future is dark. And then you're talking about this artificial, that human. I don't know, there is any place to escape, or there is no escape, because there is no place on the earth is going to be safe. And situation, for example, I live in Chicago now because of the high temperature. I'm few days there, I love it. And in the last few days, they said the Chicago weather is pollution is worse than anywhere. And we go out, you cannot breathe. what is going on in the air, the smoke, the fire, this, that. What is going to have big test going to come? I feel it going to get worse and worse. What is, maybe more knowledge in the Baha'i writing, that, and you can please explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very appreciate that. I just remembered there is a statement by Shoghi Effendi, and I'm paraphrasing that. He says, Baha'is cannot escape tribulations, but they know the source of tribulations, and they also know the road ahead, the direction of humanity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kanta Kumar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Sabet. That was a
Thank
very
you.
illuminating presentation. My background is education, so as an educator, I would like to know your thoughts. How would artificial intelligence kind of change the way we are teaching and bringing up our new generation of children, both at the school level, at the university level? What kind of changes do you anticipate?
Thank you very much. Excellent questions. Just look back at the way internet changed education in terms of evolving online approaches or online methods to educating people from kindergarten to university level. So the way that online education evolved in the past, let's say 30 years, is a good indicator of the way that now imagine an online education augmented by the power of artificial intelligence. I think universalization of education will expand. Education will go to every corner of the world, from the villages of Africa to the Siberia in Russia, to Japan, to Europe, everywhere. Education becomes more and more, these are the positive side, more and more accessible to all the masses of humanity. And education will become free and universal. And the result of research findings and publications will be shared more and more by the entire human race. So I think these are, I'm positively sure about the outcome of these developments and the positive aspect of internet and artificial intelligence into changing the very foundation of education and providing a more reliable, efficient, universal, global platform for education. It helps us to become more and more, get closer and closer to some sort of global curriculum. So there are really interesting developments on the horizon, and perhaps even the very nature of some sciences and some subjects in education will also be impacted. So that by itself is a very interesting topic, but unfortunately we don't have time to discuss that, how the content of education can be impacted as well.
But what about in terms of the role of the teacher, the role of the and the learner?
Perfect question. I think the traditional role of teacher will be definitely changed. Teachers become facilitators of education and research and independent study and lifelong learning. They have to teach their children, their students, how to become experts in solving problems, to be a critical thinker, to be creative, to to be adaptable to these changes, this adaptability and versatility. I think the future of education is about these two words, adaptability and versatility. And because of all these changes, teachers need to really teach students how to do that, how to become adaptive to these changes, to the pace of change, and at the same time, don't get confused in the process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love it. Adaptability and versatility. It's going to be a new motto.
Can I add something to
Yes,
this?
please go ahead.
I'm so glad education came up because it's absolutely fascinating that in 1980s, computers were brought into university. It was one whole floor where we had a computer where I was trying to do statistic, and it drove me crazy. And a friend of mine, Fuad Monajam, was on her way to Atlanta, his way to create his own company, computer company. And he said to me, in the future, your computer will be in your pocket and you can carry your company in your pocket to any parts of the world. And I kind of smiled. Well, it truly has happened. And you can go to any village or any little town, anywhere in the world, and young children are more intelligently using these telephones and laptops and computers than we could have ever imagined.
Yes.
And it's fascinating how education has gone to a different level, where a teacher is only a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids have the ability to learn faster than ever before. It's truly that Baha'u'llah talks about. It's very fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, friends, for those wonderful questions. Really, it just kind of clarified and elaborated. We have a few comments. If anybody else would like to comment or question, please raise your hand. But until that happens, I thought I will share some things that are in the chat. There is a question that says, as Baha'is, we believe there is progress in science and technology. Is there also progress in spirituality and looking for truth?
I guess there is, because progress and evolution and human movement towards perfection is inevitable in my understanding. And the revelation of Baha'u'llah has created the impetus for that change, for that transformation. And unfortunately we really don't have time, but like Shahla Khanum, briefly mentioned like Iranian situation. Like Iranian situation within the 44 years, the degree of changes that we have seen in that country is just mind-boggling. It is, nobody could expect under normal circumstances the same degree of change could happen in 5-6 generations. So my understanding is that things are happening, but we have to also advance the meaning of spirituality here. In other words, the meaning of spirituality from a Baha'i perspective is not like a solid thing. Okay, it's not like something that is frozen in time. Spirituality is a process of progress, making changes. Sometimes it may appear in a way that some people may assume it is against spirituality, like people's rebellion against clerical rule in Iran. It is a rebellion against one particular religious indoctrination. Okay, but it is in fact a move towards progress, even though it is challenging the traditional definition of religion, but it is challenging an antiquated idea of religion in order to reach a better understanding of religion and God and spirituality and so on.
Thank you. We have someone by the name of iPhone. Please go ahead with your question. Your hand is up. Go ahead, please. You have your hand up. I'm not sure if you meant to put your hand up. Maybe not. Okay, Quanta Dawn, please go ahead. Quanta Dawn Light.
Thank you. Maybe she's not hearing.
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to share because I'm just so excited about the ability because of Corona, 3.5 years ago, because of the calamity, something really beautiful has happened, So please, I urge all the friends, find within your own community, or there are some global organizations that are actually working for peace. I mean, they say the world is my country, humanity is one. And I mean, right now I'm involved with a new organization. It's only women who are working for peace. Today we had a meeting. There was only 30 women from Europe, from Africa, United States, Asia, and they are working together about peace, and they're going to be meeting in Brussels. But they're meeting, organizing on the internet, on Zoom. So I really urge each and every one of you, seek out organizations that are working for peace, for unity, for the education of humanity. And they are out there, millions of them, trust me. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a few more. I'm just keeping an eye on time. There's a few more comments. Jean Marie says, go fast, go alone. Go farther, go together. Masses always behind leading edge of science. Discoveries, innovations. Artificial intelligence is no different in this regard. We need not rush as if fearful of being left behind. You have any comments, or should I go ahead? Dr. Sabet, any comments?
No, that's very good. Thank you. Next one, please.
Okay, Sue says, Plato said, good people don't need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws. We also have a whole bunch of friends who are thanking you for that enlightening talk. There is also a question about whether friends could get a copy of your PowerPoint. So I said I would ask for your permission, and we can let them know.
Yes, of course, sure.
Okay, thank you. So
thank
friends,
you. I really appreciate
yes.
the kind words, and I also noticed that a few comments are saying that my presentation was positive, and I'm glad about that. But let me tell you something again from my perspective. From a Baha'i perspective, it is a positive message for the world. We don't believe that humanity is doomed to failure. We anticipate difficult times, definitely. But the overall picture is for the progress of humanity. Manifestations of God have come to this world successively to bring the message of hope, love, everlasting life, establishing the kingdom of God on earth. If the earth is doomed to annihilation, then what is, all those efforts are gone for no reason, for no, achievement. So therefore, positive thinking and there is psychologically speaking, positive thinking is just something, a virtue that we have to practice. But my thinking is that positivity in the Baha'i faith is inherent in its thinking, it is inherent in its theology, it is inherent in its ethical philosophy, it is inherent in the way that it sees the future of the world. So this positivity is inherent in the overall aspects and organs and parts of Baha'i thinking. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, dear Dr. Sabet. I really have no words. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone present tonight to say how very relevant and useful and helpful tonight's topic was to all of our lives. And I'm sure that we can all use it as we go ahead with our conversations and elevated conversations and all of that. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.